The energy you expend will dictate your closeness with God. Hey, I'm Brian. Welcome to my Garage Bible Study. I know I just said something very, very controversial, and if you don't understand what I'm saying, I could sound like a heretic, because it's not my energy that gets me closer to God. It's Jesus' energy that gets me close to God. It's Jesus' energy of going on a cross that gets me closer to God. It's Him. It's His works. It's His righteousness. So I'm not talking right now about ultimately how I get to God, how I get to heaven. I'm talking about right now, how much do you feel God right now? That will be influenced by how diligent you run after God, how diligent you search the scriptures, how diligent you pray, how much energy you put into the relationships around you, how often it is that you do the things you need to do. I was with my wife the other day, and she was driving, and which is somewhat unusual for us because I'm normally the one who drives when we're together. But she was driving because I wanted to do some stuff on my phone as we were driving home. And we were down in Lexington, and she came up to a stop sign, and there was a woman with a sign, a refugee sign, saying, she needed food for her and her family. She looked honest, all that stuff. And my wife said, hey, we need to give her some money, which that's not a thing that I generally do, because I generally think, well, someone's standing on a corner with a sign, it's a scam. I know I'm awful. It's not the way it is with every person. It's a bad thing that I have that assumption. But Liv had a different feeling about this, and it was a long red light, unfortunately. A long red light. So the Spirit had a chance to do some work on me and her, and sure enough, we ended up giving her some money. And I felt a little closer to God. Maybe it's because I just was considering what His heart would be for that woman. Maybe it's because I made an aggressive move and I did something that passive Brian, cynical Brian, didn't want to do. We misunderstand the need to be rigorous and to strive for things and to hustle and to wrestle and fight for things, so much so that we don't understand people who are actually in the Bible. One of my heroes I love in the Bible is the person named Jacob. I love Jacob's story so much that I named my son after him. His name is Jacob, in case you couldn't figure that out. But yet, in church circles, Jacob is not valued at all. He's thought of as something that he isn't. I'll just give you a brief background on his life before we actually get into our passage today, which is going to be Genesis chapter 32, verse 22. Actually, let me just read it, because this is called my Garage Bible Study. I got to read the Bible a few minutes in, and then I'll go back on his backstory. It says this, verse 24. And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. And when the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Jacob is a hustler. He's a mover. He's a shaker. He comes out of the womb. His twin brother Esau comes out first, and Jacob is hustling, trying to get out ahead of him. He's grasping onto the heel. Some people say that Jacob's name means one who supplants. That's not true. It's not one. It's one who grasps the heel. He's grasping the heel coming out of Esau. And here's the thing. God goes to the parents before this event, and God tells them the older will serve the younger. God says, I know culture says the oldest one gets the birthright, the oldest one gets the blessing, the oldest one gets all the cool stuff, but no, that's not the way it's going to work. You're going to have the older one slot under the younger. God tells them this is the way it's supposed to be. And Jacob comes out just struggling and hustling. Maybe that's why God wants it to be this way. We don't know. I'm just reading between the lines. Maybe that's why God said this is the way it's supposed to be, because He knew Jacob was somebody who would strive. He's somebody who would hustle. He also has a situation where, even though it's been told him that he is to be the one to get the blessing, he's not getting the blessing because Isaac wants to give the blessing to Esau, his favorite. Isaac is kind of the manly man. He hunts. He's all hairy. Jacob is the mama's boy. He cooks. He doesn't have a lot of hair. So Rebecca likes Isaac, or Rebecca likes Jacob, and Isaac likes Esau. And they come to the situation where Esau is out hunting, and he comes in from the woods with his game, and Jacob is posted up with a bowl of soup he's been cooking, and said, hey, brother, I'll trade you. Guy says, I'm dying. Esau says, I'm dying. I can't even. I'll trade you. I'll trade you some of this stew for the birthright. The right culturally to be treated as the eldest son and get the blessing, the official laying on of hands, and the blessing, the bestowal of the birthright whenever it comes time for dad to do that. Esau's like, okay, fine. What good is it to me if I'm going to die of starvation? And he makes the trade. The New Testament makes it very, very clear in the book of Romans that Esau despised his birthright. There's nothing wrong that Jacob does here. Jacob sees something he wants and he goes and gets it. You ever seen a car that you want and you try to trade money for the car? Is that deception? No, it's a straight up trade. Are you in business and you have certain assets and abilities that you trade for money? Is that not good? You should just be giving it away? No, you're bartering. You're figuring out how it's win-win. Jacob just does a win-win proposition. You're hungry, I'll give you the soup, and I get the birthright. He wasn't going to die, Esau. He has meat. He's got meat. He's not that far from the village. You can be very, very hungry and walk a few more miles, or you can take your own game when you start to realize that you were hungry, and you could start a fire and you can make your own game, or you can actually eat it raw. Esau's not wrong here. Jacob is. So Jacob sees what he wants. He hustles. He strives. He gets it. And then we come to this situation where, by the way, Jacob is not Pollyanna pure heart. He's also got issues. Just about every hero in the faith has issues except for Jesus. He's got major issues. Him and his mom conspire to lie to his dad at Dysfunction Junction. They lie. Jacob has to take off and run for cover because his brother, the manly man, is trying to find him and kill him. There's all kinds of stuff. He's not Pollyanna pure heart, but what he is, that is very pure in heart, is somebody who wants to hustle, who wants to strive. And now he's going to wrestle. He's actually wrestling with God. It says a man. This is known as a theophany, God showing up in physical form. And if you look at this in the Bible, where we see the angel of the Lord, not an angel of the Lord, but the angel of the Lord, most scholars, theologians would agree, this is a prefiguration of Jesus, because Jesus has always existed. He got born in Bethlehem as a little baby to go through the whole process, but he's always existed, and he comes and takes physical form. And it's Jesus who's likely wrestling with Jacob here. Let's keep going here. Then he said, let me go, for the day is broken. So says Jesus. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. And he said to him, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. God knows what his name is. He's trying to get him to say his identity. Who are you? I'm the one who strives. That's who I am. Just like I'm striving with you right now. That's who I am. That's what my identity is. Then he said, your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and men and have prevailed. Part of why I believe part of how I know that Jacob has gotten a bad rap is Jacob is not this evil person that we shouldn't be about, because God names his chosen nation after Jacob, because he renames Jacob Israel. Now, it's hard to say exactly what Israel means, just a few letters in Hebrew. You can't get a sentence description out of it. Some people say it's one who fights with God. Others say it's God's fighter. I actually like it as God's fighter. He was wrestling with God here, but I also think God sees, man, dude, you're a fighter. You keep going. You keep going. You keep going. I'm going to give you a new name, a new identity, and this is going to mark your future. And it continues. Then Jacob asked him, please tell me your name. But he said, why is it that you ask my name? And there he blessed him. Jacob got blessed. So Jacob called that place Peniel, saying, for I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered. That's why I think it's Jesus. He saw God face to face. God is spirit. But Jesus was able to take on physical form. I've seen God, and I've been delivered. And Jacob, for the rest of his life, he walked with a limp because God had touched him, just a touch, kind of crazy. He's wrestling with God. He has no chance. He doesn't know that, though. At what point does he know that he's in over his weight class? Doesn't matter for Jacob because he's always hustling. He's always wrestling. He's holding them and he's holding. And God's actually impressed with his tenacity. So I'm going to rename you Israel. What's this mean for us? You're not going to have a nation named after you. You're not going to be, and I'm not going to be counted in all likelihood as one of the heroes of the faith. We're never going to be in the Bible itself, and probably we're going to be forgotten about a year after we die or decades after we die. None of us are just all that important, but we have an assignment while we're here. And your ability to sometimes just hold on is the difference between completing that assignment and getting blessed. Sometimes we strive and we have accomplishments. Sometimes we can't strive, we can't make any progress. All we can do is just hold on. Just clinging to God and clinging to life is every kind of wind and earthquake seems to come our way. My encouragement to you, just hold on. Keep fighting, keep striving, keep wrestling, and there's a future for you. There's a future with everybody who takes on these godly characteristics. That's all I got for you today. I'll see you next time on My Garage Bible Study.